Morning, Milwaukee, on a beautiful, crispy morning. It's like the week school starts. It is like, boom, pool's closed. Time to get your ass back to school. Here we go. No, in all seriousness, I actually hope that it gets back to like mid 70s or 80s until, a little Indian summer. But Badger football starts Thursday night. Football's back. Packers are back. We're back. All right. So here we go. Today, I actually hope to plant some seeds for you and to you that I think you need to be thinking about. And at the end, you have a choice to make. Whether you make the choice or not is totally fine. And hopefully the seeds I plant for you are very actionable. Okay. Because I'm going to touch base a little bit more on something that I talked about last week in terms of where I see the industry, what's going on within the macroeconomy, and a huge problem we have as an industry that we all collectively have to solve for. And if you solve for the problem, you'll be fine. If you don't solve for the problem, you'll become a statistic. So you have a choice: solve for the problem or become a statistic. Sound good? All right, there's my lead. So with that, mission, vision, values, beliefs, and perspectives, one of the things I don't talk about often, but I wanted to show you how it lives within our lives, is within our value statement. It's very clearly written. It's God, family first, then business. And I share with you that to say, like, look, God can be somewhat of a polarizing topic. And I would say this: the way I describe that to people when people ask me about it, especially when they challenge me about it, is everyone has a spiritual well-being. What you believe that spiritual well-being to believe is your personal choice. Your number one physical priority should be your family, and your third physical priority should be your business. So a couple months ago, I was having beers with a friend of mine. His name's Paul Hackbarth. Paul owns a bunch of the camp bars in and around the Milwaukee area. And Paul has been gracious enough to lend us his space for a variety of Christmas parties throughout the years, from downtown to Tosa to his place at the Atrium in Shorewood to everywhere in between. And he said, "Charlie, you like throwing parties and you like getting people together. What can we do next for Keller Williams?" And I said, "Well, Paul, what's your idea?" And he said, "Let's throw something at the state fair." I said, "I love it, but not during the state fair." So we hatched this idea to throw our first ever kind of what I would consider it to be a company annual picnic. It's going to be annual because we're going to run it back again next year. And I'll tell you, we had 574 people register and 574 people show up between the hours of 3 and 7. It was a 4-hour window. I can tell you my kids personally ate 4 popsicles themselves. The tacos, and I never thought I'd have so much joy watching people dunk other people in a dunk tank than I did last week. But I think it was an incredible reminder as to why we do what we do and how we pull people together. And for us to kind of showcase to our families the community and culture we're a part of, but also for you guys to see who it is that many of you do it for. So I want to show you a quick recap for those that missed it last week, or for those that were there to bring about great memories.
In a hard place is battery control. What am I waiting for? Feet planted beneath.
So for the 500 of you who showed up, hopefully enjoyed yourselves. Planning is actually already underway. Kathleen sent a survey out for those that attended. We would love your feedback because we want to make it bigger and better next year. And I had this epiphany during it that, like, an event like that absolutely aligns with our values as a company in terms of God, family, business. And so hopefully you guys enjoyed yourselves. And for those of you who missed it, plan it again for next summer. Cool? Yes. Thank you to Most specifically, Bella, Courtney, and Wooten, who really helped us pull it together. And to be honest, I didn't really know what we were walking into, and we said go to the state fair, and it turned out all right. Yeah, it was a great space. So we'll be running it back again next year for you guys to be able to bring your families again. So let's jump into it. Last week, I said we had a ton of July cappers, and that is the absolute truth. This week, we have round two. So a handful of people that I want to recognize and celebrate for the incredible work they've done in 2025 and beyond. First up, to be honest with you, this guy is the definition of a grinder. Every great teams need grinders. And in the hockey world, it's the guys that are willing to go into the corners. This is a guy who shows up every single day, continuously does his activities, and the results show up. And I'm pretty certain he only has one outfit. Congrats to Nick Jensen for capping in the month of July. Next up, this is an incredible person who, everybody has friends that you can always count on and rely on when things go south. And this person has been an incredible friend to someone within our environment who's dealt with some tough personal times, and she's always been there for her. And for that, I would just want to say thank you to Amy Merrick for being an incredible friend to someone in our environment. Amy Merrick, congrats on capping. Next up, this person, talk about the definition of personal transformation since they've been in our environment. They continuously work on it every day, and it's day by day, brick by brick, progression by progression. Congrats to JOC for capping in the month of July. Next up, an example of similarly progression, movement, willing to take risk in order to build her business, building it between two cities in Chicago and Milwaukee. Congrats to Emily Fair for capping in the month of July. Next, Cedarburg's finest. It was really cool. She lent us her son as an intern for a summer, Drew, and it was great to get to know Drew and his family better outside of just his mom, Kristen, being an agent at KW. But Kristen's been a great agent of ours, been in many accountability groups, has done home flips. Congrats to Kristen Schlingman for capping in the month of July. Next up, another cool story. It only took her 20 years to get here, but she got here as soon as she could. I went to high school with her kids, and I've admired her business from afar, and she's been an absolute breath of fresh air in our environment in the last 6 months as she's transitioned in. And I keep joking to her, why did it only take you 20 years? But with that, Lauren Siegel, congrats on capping in the month of July. Next up, pretty cool story. This is an individual who went to a charter school at 24th and Hampton. It's called Milwaukee Excellence Academy. They have since merged with Howard Fuller Collegiate Academy downtown. But we met this individual during a day where we were volunteering at the school. He wanted to get into real estate. I connected him with an incredible team and a team leader who took him under her wing and has helped him build himself up. I believe I could be accurate in saying he's only 19 years old and he just capped. Congrats on Donovan Smith for capping. Next up, this is a powerhouse couple. I don't understand, quite frankly, how they do it, but they do it with an incredible efficiency. You want to talk about systems, models, and how do you scale a business doing 400 units a year with a small army behind you that's doing it. Congrats to Holly and Santi Speranza for capping in the month of July. 3 more. I got next up, individual who transferred into us from Prestige has really helped House to Home, who's absolutely blown up their business this year. And he's the epitome of like, if you do the work, the results show up. Jason Stelling, congrats on capping in the month of July. Next up, another member of Shawnee's team who, again, continuously is doing the activities, the results show up, is participating in FTC, understands that the way you find success in this business is find your team, find your tribe, and find your small group that'll help and pour into you. Congrats to Anitra Tatum for capping in the month of July. And then lastly, this is a silent but deadly agent. When I mean silent, they just do their job. They don't make a lot of noise. They don't really participate in a lot of the underbelly that sometimes happens in our business in terms of, I don't know, let's just say talking shit or whatever. They just do their job. And You know, it's like Jim Harbaugh says, just do your job. He does his job. Jordan Tybenko, congrats on capping him. July. All right, we're rolling into September, and we have a handful of things rolling out in the month of September. One thing that I would specifically want to call out so that you guys are paying attention to it is Lindsay is going to be rolling out the AI Playbook in a 3-part series. Part 1 is all around the fundamentals of AI. How do you understand what it is? What are the core concepts and terminology? And what are the basic AI tools that you have access to? Part 2 on Thursday, September 11th is using AI for lead generation and nurturing. How do you automate your marketing content with AI, and how do you enhance client communication? Part 3 is September 18th, all around integrating AI tools for your workflows, building custom AI-powered assistants, and ethical considerations and best practices. You're going to see us continuing to lean into the AI theme, and you will soon be seeing a rollout of a resource from us as it relates to AI. And by the way, this little piece was created by AI, of all things. So pay attention to the September training calendar that just launched yesterday. All right, so I'm going to plant some seeds for you as you think about your 2026 planning, okay? And I'm going to go back to really hone in on a few things I talked about last week, and then I'm going to share with you a problem our industry faces, okay? So last week I talked a little bit about the GDP, and we're in a little bit of an interesting period because last year the GDP growth, we're coming off of 3 straight years of GDP growth of 1.9 to 2.5 to 2.8. The target is a 2% growth rate. So to go from a 2.8 to a 1.4% GDP growth is a dramatic drop. The challenge that our government faces is that when you're declining GDP, and the number one factor to growing GDP is what? Housing. But housing isn't necessarily in a recession. Would you agree or disagree? Agree. Demand is still relatively hot. So the challenge our government faces is when you have unemployment that's rising and you want to stimulate the economy, the number one factor you can do to stimulate the economy is housing. And yes, how do you do it? You lower interest rates in order to impact unemployment. And when they lower interest rates, what's going to happen to appreciation of an industry that's already facing high appreciation gains that impacts inflation? Is what? Interests go down, appreciation goes up, which rises inflation. It counteracts. We're in an interesting time. The analogy I've used with a lot of you who've asked me follow-up questions is when you go to the grocery store, egg prices are higher, yes or yes?
Yep.
Of all goods in the grocery store, I'm shocked at how many people pay attention to egg prices. Okay? The challenge is you don't want egg prices to go up further than what they already are, correct? Now, correlate that to housing. Consumers don't want housing to go up any further than it already is, correct? So the government's in a tough spot in terms of how do you stimulate our economy knowing that the GDP growth has gone backwards. The way you do it is touch rates, but yet if you touch rates, you'll cause more inflation. Do you get it? So we're in an interesting time and an interesting spot. And when you look at it from a home sales on an annual basis, what you have to understand is we are in a 3-year period where off the peak of 20 and 21, we're down 18%. 2022 was down 18%, 23 was down 30%, and down 24 was down 30% off of its peak. Okay? So that's why I keep saying to you, we're in this bit of a sloth of an environment. Things are just like we're walking through sledge. Make sense? And the challenge is there's not a lot that can be done in order to stimulate it because the ways they would stimulate it would decrease rates. If they decrease rates, it'll increase appreciation, and then we have inflation again. So we're in this like virtuous cycle. And when you look at it on a volume per agent standpoint in terms of how does this impact you, the industry as a whole has gotten a little bit of drunk off of volume. Because while your units might have gone backwards, it might not have impacted your incomes because appreciation gains have been so substantial. So on a volume per agent basis, it's the 3rd best it's ever been. Yet, there's been a lot of separation within this business. And someone is outworking you for your next deal because it's a units-based game. The challenge of it is on a units-based game, when you look at it in terms of historical average of sides per agent was 10, we're operating in an environment where right now we're down about 50% off of the historical average of closed units per agent. And so we're in this environment where people have gotten drunk off of volume and they've lost sight of what it is that they do and how they control the impact to their income, which is units. And we're operating in an environment where units are down 44% versus historical average of how many closed deals agents do. So I planting these seeds for you as you think about your strategic planning heading into 2026. And yet the good news in all of it, 88% of all transactions utilize a real estate professional in the last 12 months. It's the second highest it's been in 40 years. So people are telling us, look, transactions are getting more complex. We're trying to navigate what this means in terms of how this impacts our balance sheets, in terms of how we help people buy and sell, how people unlock equity, and transactions are getting more complex, not less. And people are telling us that they value the services that you provide. The challenge is there's a lot more of you competing for 50% less units per agent. So there's just a lot less meat on the bone as you think about your planning for 2026. So I've shared this with you in the past, and I'm going to share it again because I think this is a substantial problem that people aren't paying attention to. Okay? And it's the last mile problem. And the substantial problem and I'm going to equate to health. If you ignore your health for too long, what will naturally show up over time? Issues. 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 And if you ignore too many of the vital signs within your business over time, what shows up? Issues. You go broke. So here's the last mile opportunity or the last mile problem within our business. Agents spend tons of money on marketing and leads. Yes or yes? They spend tons of money on tech and CRM platforms that whether they use them, if they use them, can deliver results. If they don't use them, it doesn't deliver results. The challenge of it is people spend a lot of money on it, but it's easily accessible. You can buy any technology platform. Everybody has access to it. Anybody can buy Zillow leads. Anybody can buy Realtor.com. Anybody can do any of those things. And soon we'll have AI and predictive analytics that'll score leads for you in order to identify where it is that you focus your attention on the hottest of hot leads. And yet the challenge becomes, and this is the last mile problem, and this goes back to the conversation I've been having with you over time, the 90-10, 90-10. The 10% of your value creation will create 90% of your value over time is your relationships. So here's the problem many of you face. Here was an industry study that was done by Mike DePeltry. I've shared this with you in the past, but I think it's a very appropriate time to share it again. 35% of leads during his study that he did nationwide across 2,000 agents, 35% of leads were never responded to. 47% of requests were not responded to by a human. So people were leveraging technology, but they were missing the human interaction of what makes you you, what creates your value. It took 8 hours and 17 minutes was the average time for a human to respond. 42% of agents were never asked for their contact information. And 42% of the time, our industry is basically saying to their clients or potential consumers, I am not going to do my job to sell your home. Speed to lead, and human interaction is the key. We can overinvest in technology platforms to help increase our conversion, and yet you still have to have a human interaction, and a human interaction will not replace you in terms of your value proposition. And 62% of people who had an interaction with a human never experienced follow-up again. So, if you worked as the average agent, what would happen to your business? Issues would show up over time. And when you operate in an environment where we are down 44% off of historical averages in terms of closed units per agent, if you don't address your issues on a daily basis or work them like you do in the gym in order to prevent them, which is would be AKA your activities on the front side in terms of your lead generation and lead follow-up, you're going to have an issue. And attrition, you will become a part of the statistics from an attrition standpoint. And so the last mile opportunity, very similarly, the way I've set this up in the past, is Amazon's last mile opportunity isn't the acquisition of the goods and products and services that you purchase from them. Amazon's last mile opportunity in terms of why you continue to buy from them is convenience. And the most expensive piece in the Amazon transaction is convenience. It's getting it from their warehouse to your doorstep within the time that you expect it. Your last mile opportunity is when someone reaches out to you, the fact that you reach back out within the time in which they expect it from you. Remember, 92% of clients only interview 2 agents. It's speed to lead, speed to lead, speed to lead. And when the average lead only receives in human interaction 8 hours after they've first initially reached out, that's a problem. So I want to share with you a little bit of a video that parlays into this, is where I think we have problems as a society today and how it correlates to our business. So if that doesn't scare you, we have a problem. Because here's the truth. Here's what we're up against right now. Even though I'm talking a little bit on both sides of my mouth. The advent of AI will create efficiencies within our business that will make us faster. The challenge is how do you harness those technologies in order for you to do your jobs better? Your job is to create what? Connections with people, relationships. And so when you look at this graph and say, I understand I need to invest in technology. I need to understand how I live digitally and what my digital footprint looks like. And yet the challenge becomes is how do I become a unicorn in our business? You invest in the opportunity to create friction with somebody else in a positive way, which is how do they associate with your brand promise physically? How do they associate your brand promise to you, what it looks like, how it lives, how it breathes, and how do you have a relationship with people? Because the challenge becomes, as I use the last mile opportunity as a way to set this up, is we've relied so much on so many platforms to do our job for us that when it's actually time for us to step onto the field to do our job, we're not showing up. And so we show up to play the game, and we want to play the game and we want to score. And I'll use football as an example. You want to score a touchdown, but if you're not between the lines, how do you expect to score a touchdown? You have to get in between the lines in order to have the contact with your relationships over time. Now, the reason why I bring this up now is it basically is September 1, is I'm going to use the energy dial. Okay? You're entering into a period of time called the fall cleanup. Starts in September. And what you need to be thinking about as it relates to the fall cleanup, because for all intents and purposes, less than 25% of the business happens from September to December. So you're in a period of time where you need to get out of the rat race of working in your business and begin thinking about how you're working on your business. In the fall cleanup period, you should be thinking about your database management. You need to be segmenting your database management in terms of leads, those that you don't personally know yet, documenting them, tagging them, and understanding how you get to know them. And also your contacts. Your contacts are the people that know you, like you, trust you, and care about you. People do business with those they know, like, and trust. You'll soon be entering into a period of winter renewal. And this is where I truly believe the separation is in the preparation. Why? Instead of taking November and December off, as so much of our industry does, they embrace the period of time of when people come together during the holidays, and they use that as ability to build their businesses in terms of where top agents shine, because they bring people together to create connection to their brand and reputation. And they utilize the period from November till March to make that happen. Because what will naturally happen is March through September of next year, you'll enter into the spring and summer explosion. And I looked this up. 65% of all residential real estate transactions in Wisconsin happen between March and September. 65% of all transactions. So the challenge becomes is what you do now in order to set the stage for your first quarter. And if you miss your first quarter, there isn't enough business in the fourth quarter in order to make it up the balance of the year. Business will naturally happen in the spring. And you have to create systems in order to save yourself time, energy, and money. So, life is about choices. Agent productivity is the direct reflection of the choices they make, how they spend their time, what their activities look like, and what it is they do with their time. Let's look and see how that plays out, shall we? So, last year in the fall of 2024, there was a group of people who made a bunch of choices. Here we go. You ready? This is what we call accountability. And by the way, I know I've done this in the past. I don't plan to do this today. I will not reveal the agents. Okay? This is an agent in Southwest. In September, fall of 23, they couldn't afford it. Their Q1, they were in a tough spot. Last year, they made an investment of time, energy, and money. January of 25, January through March, which is quarter one, they were up 200% in units, up 430% in volume. Individual agent in the North Shore. In fall of 23, they invested their time, energy, and money, and these were the results that showed up. Last year, they said they were too busy. They had a goose egg in the first quarter. This was a large team. They invested their time, energy, and money. Here was the quarter one results. Units up 32%, volume up 33%. This was a team in Lake Country. They invested their time, energy, and money of the fall of 23. This was the results that showed up. Last year, they were too busy as a team. Their units were down 54%. Their volume was down 33%. Life is about choices. Large team in the North Shore. They invested their time, energy, and money. This should say January through March of 24. This was their units. This was their volume. Last year as a team, they made the same investment. This was their units. This was their volume in the first quarter. Individual agent out of innovation. They weren't interested in the fall of 23. Look at their 2024 Q1. They made the investment. The units were up 150%. The volume was up 388%. They learned their lesson. Individual agent in Lake Country. Invested the time, energy, and money. Units were up 200%. Volume was up 513. Mid-sized team in innovation. They invested in the fall of 23. They had the results. Last year, they were too busy. Units were down 34%. Volume was down 12%. Mid-sized team in the North Shore. Invested. Here, the units were up 22% in the first quarter. Volume was up 40%. Individual agent in Lake Country. They were distracted in the fall of 23. They had a goose egg from January until May. That's a tough amount of time to go with no income. They made the investment of time, energy, and money. You can see how it showed up in Q1. Southwest agent, so on and so forth. So many of you have been around a while, have seen this presentation before. Okay, here's how it showed up. Last year, we had 144 people who made a decision in the fall, and they showed up, 144 people. These, as a company, these were our results within the first quarter. Closed units, we were up 32% when the market was down 2%. Closed sales volume, we were up 47% when the market was up 13%. Listings taken unit, we were up 22% when the market was only up 2.8%. Again, 144 people were in a class. We had these results in the first quarter, and people say, it's not for me, or it doesn't work, or I don't have time. Hard to argue with me on that when I look at data to say, I don't know, I make investing decisions based on returns. That's a pretty good investment in terms of return on time, energy, and money. So sometimes I get accused a little bit of, because I'm an overly optimistic and abundant person, of being maybe a little bit fabricated in data. And so I made a quick video for you. This is how I spent my time yesterday.
Keeping receipts. Receipt, 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 receipt. Building the bold team meeting back. Look, facts tell, stories sell. The facts tell us you want to be bold.
I have all the data. It's on my desk, all highlighted with all my math and an old school calculator. Bold delivers results. Prove me wrong. Okay. I'm going to go back real quick in a little bit of a history, because if you think it's a one-time anomaly, it's not. Fall of 23, same story. Same story. This person's been there, done that in the fall of 22. They had a goose egg in the Q1 of 23. They invested in fall of 23. This was the results in Q1 of 24. Lake Country, they had a goose egg in the first quarter. They invested in fall of 23. This was their results in Q1 of 24. Oh, let's look back into 2022. Story doesn't change. Should we go further? Fall of 21. Story doesn't change. I'll go back to the very first time I built this deck, which was fall of 2017. Story doesn't change. Here's the truth. You may not like it, and you may not fully embrace it, but the facts are almost 99.9% of you can't afford to not invest your time, energy, and resources in working on your business in the fall of 25. Okay? Because don't forget what happened to the man who suddenly got everything he always wanted. And Charlie says to Mr. Wonka, what happened? He lived happily ever after. Hey, are you still coming? As many of you look at the Gizness Book of Excuses. Willis's content machine is alive and well. And it's not just about the results. Here's the truth. It's about the sense of community and building something together and holding people accountable. It's tough in this business when it's a dog-eat-dog world. And the power of bold is also in the power of the community and who you get to learn from and be along work alongside. And it shows up within our lives in terms of how people get together outside the room in order to continuously build their business. So this year we're running bold back. I can hear your collective sighs. Okay. Here's the truth. I really care whether you take it or not because it has any impact on us, but I see the results that it delivers for so many people. And when you look at the return on investment, you are already making money if you pick up one incremental deal. It's on Thursdays this fall from September 25th to October 30th. We are finishing before November. Okay. We are finishing before November. We also got the feedback last year from the 144 of you who took the class. We extended it to 3 o'clock again and included a lunch because I heard that going from 8 to 2 without a lunch was a little tough. I like gritty people, but I understand that you like lunch. So we're running it back from 9 to 3, and we're running it back at the Zufari Center in the center of Milwaukee, which is at the Zoo Interchange. Okay. And we're running it back with Amber because here's something that happened. I looked at our Q1 results and we had never seen such a trend change after a fall period of those that entered bold like we had with Amber. Part of it, I do believe, was updated content, and 1,000% was the environment that Amber created. If you don't know who Amber is, you should get to know her, and she'll be on our next team meeting, which is September 9th. She sold over 109 homes within her 3rd year in real estate. She's done over 500 million. She operates the Naples and Marco Island KW. She has 4 children under the age of 15, and she's in Gary's top 100 mastermind. She's an exceptional woman who I believe I accurately described her last year, and many of you agreed, is a total freaking badass. And it's actually never really happens that we get to run it back with the same coach, but I literally went through and I said, look, I need to repeat that in 2026. Per agent units are down 44%. Our people won because of the environment they were put in. Okay. And Amber's running it back with us this fall. Sound good? Yeah. So, there you are. I will tell you this, and those of you who've been around for a long time, capital is never the reason why I won't let you in the room. If you need access to capital, we have a very healthy balance sheet that provides scholarships to people to get in. We have many people within our environment who donate scholarships because someone donated a scholarship for them when they first wanted to get into the room. So if you need a scholarship, there's an application. If you want to donate a scholarship, there's an application. And if you want to split your bold payments up over 3 payments, you can do that as well. And we will set that up for you within your invoice. Sound good? Here was my purpose of today. My purpose of today was to help you understand the challenging environment that we're all operating in. Look, it's a challenging environment. I gave you some interesting insights as it relates to our economy. I shared with you some interesting insights as it relates to per agent productivity. And you have to embrace the environment we're in order for you to create a strategic plan as to how you plan to operate in order to take your unfair share. And then I challenged you with what I believe the number one biggest issue we have as an industry is everyone is always looking for immediate gratification by utilizing an easy button. The truth is, if you want to make and hit your income potential, there is no easy button. You have to do the work. You have to do the work. And when you look at Mike DelPietri's study as it relates to agents' relationships with their clients and the lag in the lead time in which that humans interact with those that reach out to them, many of us have massive, massive problems showing up in our businesses and we don't realize it. Bold is a program this fall to help you understand and maximize your potential. Embrace the suck, embrace the community, and we know what it will do in terms of delivering results, and we hope to see you there. Sound good? All right, guys. It's a beautiful day in Milwaukee. Each environment, for those that registered, we have balloons that have scholarships already placed within them. There's $10,000 we're giving away today in order to incentivize people to get into the bold room. And if you need help getting into the bold room, reach out to a leadership team. And if you have questions, we're here to serve to help you understand what the opportunity of bold provides. So, and for those who don't take bold, look, it's totally cool, no judgment. Hopefully I provided you some information today that made you think around your strategic plans for 2026. Sound good? Guys, it's a beautiful day. Let's have a great day. Thanks for showing up.